What if I told you a cartoon has predicted the future again and again?
A picture going around online this month. It claims to show a screenshot of a 2002 episode of The Simpsons that eerily mirrors real-life events. It shows Donald Trump touching a glowing orb with two Middle Eastern-looking men. Well, last month, President Trump did just that with the King of Saudi Arabia and the President of Egypt.
Whether it's advanced tech, political chaos, or celebrity headlines, somehow, this animated sitcom keeps pulling moments from the future and dropping them into episodes like It's No Big Deal. Coincidence? Brilliant writing? Or something stranger? In this video, we're diving into 7 times The Simpsons predicted the future with scary accuracy, breaking down each moment, the real-world event that followed, and how this show just might be the most prophetic thing on television. Let's get into it. Roy Horn attacked by a white tiger in 2003. Back in 1993, The Simpsons aired an episode where Springfield legalizes gambling, prompting Mr. Burns to open a flashy new casino. And what's a casino without a magical stage show? Enter Gunter and Ernst, clearly inspired by the real-life illusionist duo Siegfried and Roy, who perform with trained white tigers. That is, until one of the tigers turns on them and mauls the performers mid-show. Brutal? Yes, but here's where it gets chilling. 10 years later, in 2003, Roy Horn of Siegfried and Roy was attacked on stage by one of their actual white tigers, leaving him critically injured and ending the duo's Vegas run forever. No one saw it coming except, apparently, The Simpsons. The episode was meant as a parody of showbiz extravagance, not a prophecy, but fans couldn't ignore how spot on it was. The white tiger, the flashy casino act, the attack, the aftermath. Once again, a cartoon crossed the line from satire into the strangely psychic voting machine irregularities during the 2012 U.S. election. In a segment from The Simpsons Halloween special in 2008, Homer goes to vote in the U.S. presidential election. He tries to cast his ballot for Barack Obama, but every time he presses the button, the machine switches his vote to John McCain. It's meant to be funny, dark satire, poking at fears around electronic voting security. But just 4 years later, that very fear became real news. During the 2012 presidential election, voters in multiple U.S. states reported that electronic voting machines were glitching, flipping votes from Barack Obama to Mitt Romney. The errors were documented, filmed, and widely shared across news outlets and social media. The parallels were undeniable. Officials had to shut down or recalibrate glitchy voting systems. What started as a creepy cartoon gag became a real electoral nightmare. The prediction of Donald Trump's presidency. Back in the year 2000, The Simpsons aired an episode called Bart to the Future. It imagined Lisa as the first female president of the United States, and during a cabinet meeting, she drops this jaw-dropping line.
We've inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump.
At the time, Donald Trump was known mostly as a flashy businessman and reality TV star. He'd floated the idea of running for president before, but nobody took it seriously. The line was meant as a joke, an absurd political outcome that only a cartoon could dream up. Then, 16 years later, that punchline became reality. Trump ran for office and won. Even more uncanny, the show portrayed Lisa struggling to fix the country after Trump's chaotic term, mirroring real-world debates about political division, economic concerns, and international tension during his presidency. Writer Dan Graney later admitted it was meant as a warning, not a prophecy, but fans still call it the most famous Simpsons prediction ever. Lady Gaga's Super Bowl entrance. In this episode, Lady Gaga visits Springfield for a concert, and true to her theatrical reputation, she makes a jaw-dropping entrance, flying over the crowd on wires, sparks blazing from her outfit. At the time, it seemed like classic Simpsons exaggeration. But 5 years later, the real Lady Gaga opened Super Bowl 51 by descending from the stadium roof, suspended by cables, with fireworks and a glittering costume, just like the episode. The internet exploded. Fans shared side-by-side comparisons, calling it another example of the show's psychic powers. Was it coincidence? Maybe. But once again, a Simpsons gag turned into a jaw-dropping reality on one of the world's biggest stages, the Higgs boson equation. In this episode, Homer decides he's going to become an inventor.
From this day forward, I am an inventor!
You expect chaos, and you get it. But in one blink and you'll miss it scene, he's scribbling a complex equation on a chalkboard. Harmless, right? Not quite. That messy-looking formula? It's surprisingly close to the actual equation physicists would use to estimate the mass of the Higgs boson, a fundamental particle that wasn't officially discovered until 2012, 14 years after this episode aired. This isn't one of those vague, stretch-it-to-make-it-fit predictions. Scientists and physicists actually looked at Homer's chalkboard years later and were stunned. The equation wouldn't be out of place in a real theoretical physics lecture. Why was it even there? Simple. One of the show's writers, David X. Cohen, has a background in physics and math. He collaborated with real scientists to sneak in some brainy Easter eggs. Turns out one of them may have predicted a Nobel Prize-winning breakthrough: smartphones with video calling. Let's rewind to 1995, long before FaceTime, WhatsApp, or Zoom were even ideas. In the episode Lisa's Wedding, we're taken to the year 2010. Lisa's all grown up, and technology in her world looks surprisingly familiar. At one point, she chats with her mom using a phone with a screen that lets them see each other in real time, essentially a video call. Marge is holding a device that looks eerily similar to a smartphone, and Lisa's wearing what's basically a smart watch. Back then, this kind of technology felt like pure science fiction. Remember, 1995 was still the age of dial-up internet and flip phones the size of bricks. But fast forward to the 2010s and video calling becomes not just possible, but part of everyday life. Apple launched FaceTime in 2010. Skype, Zoom, and dozens of other apps followed. The Simpsons didn't just imagine futuristic tech, they nailed the timeline. The episode predicted both the concept and the year we'd all start using it. A cartoon? Maybe. But in this case, it predicted the most common way we connect today. Team USA wins curling gold at the 2018 Winter Olympics. When you think of Olympic sports the US dominates, curling probably isn't on the list, but The Simpsons saw something no one else did. In the 2010 episode Boy Meets Curl, Homer and Marge unexpectedly discover their talent for curling. They train, they compete, and eventually they head to the Winter Olympics, where they beat Sweden and bring home the gold. It's hilarious, absurd, and 100% classic Simpsons. But then, in 2018, 8 years later, Team USA's real-life curling team did exactly that. Against all odds, they made it to the Olympic finals and defeated Sweden to win the gold medal. It was one of the most surprising and emotional victories in US Winter Olympics history. Even curling fans were shocked. The sport had long been dominated by countries like Canada and Sweden. For the US to come out on top felt like a long shot, which is exactly what made the Simpsons prediction so perfect. From Trump's presidency to curling gold, The Simpsons has somehow managed to stay 3 steps ahead of the future for over 3 decades. Was it dumb luck, sharp writing, or have the people of Springfield secretly been time travelers this whole time? Whatever the reason, one thing's clear: next time The Simpsons makes a wild prediction, maybe don't laugh it off so fast. Which prediction shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments. And if you want a part 2 with even crazier moments they got right, hit that like button and subscribe. Until then, stay curious and keep watching the skies over Springfield.